After Suya confirmed, Isuzu admitted that she was asking him out on a date. However, Suya still couldn't fathom why he was being coerced. He mentioned that Isuzu did it to prevent him from escaping. Surprisingly, the bullets used in her rifle were real. Reluctantly, Suya ultimately had to comply with Isuzu's wishes. On Sunday, they had agreed to meet at Amaji Station. Suya arrived early and waited for Isuzu. For some reason, Suya repeatedly struck poses in front of the mirrors at the location. It appeared that Suya was quite confident in his good looks. With his cool appearance and impressive school achievements, he understood why Isuzu, a transfer student he didn't know well, had asked him out. Suddenly, Suya was startled when Isuzu emerged from the building where she had been reading a magazine without notifying him that she had arrived. While waiting for the bus, Suya asked where they were going. It turned out that Isuzu was taking him to Amaburi, or Amaji Brilliant Park. Upon hearing this, Suya immediately wanted to go home. However, Isuzu prevented him by pointing her gun at him, just like at school. Suya truly couldn't understand why he was being taken to such a rundown amusement park. Despite Suya's complaints and grumbling, he eventually boarded the bus as well. During the journey, Isuzu asked if Suya had ever been to Amaburi before. Suya couldn't quite remember, but it seemed he had been there once as a child. Shortly after that, Suya saw a magnificent fortress on the right side of the road. The bus announced that the next stop was Amaji Brilliant Park. Naturally, Suya prepared to disembark upon hearing this. However, for some reason, Isuzu stopped him. She said they would only get off at the next stop. Isuzu explained that the fortress earlier was the entrance to the Le Hotel. People often get confused. Originally, the entrance gate to Amaji Brilliant Park was indeed there. However, the park was relocated about 10 years ago during renovations, and the fortress was built near the bus stop. Suya wondered why the bus stop wasn't changed. It turned out that the request had been made before but was ignored for various reasons. There were usually many guests arriving at the wrong bus stop. Suya was puzzled about who Isuzu meant by guests. She explained that in almost all amusement parks, visitors are called guests, and the employees are called servants. Finally, they reached their destination. Just at the entrance gate, the appearance was already unpleasant. The place was very old, and the fountain had run dry. Many facilities were in a state of disrepair. Moreover, the park was incredibly deserted, even though it was a Sunday. Suddenly, Isuzu informed Suya of the fact that this park used to be visited by 2,110 guests per day during the holiday season. Then first of all, Isuzu wanted to take Suya to the Witch's Hill. Witch's Hill was a dreamlike fairy tale area that served as the mascot of the Magic Kingdom of Maple Land. There, they visited one of the attractions called the Tirami Flower Adventure. Isuzu mentioned that Tirami was a flower fairy. In this attraction, they would ride a heart-cleansing train to a world full of joy. However, judging by its appearance, Suya wasn't sure about it. Inside the attraction, the staff seemed unenthusiastic in serving them. Then, as the train started moving, they almost fell because there was a broken track. The flowers and robots they passed while riding the train were also no longer maintained. And Tirami, who should have been waving his hands on the stage they passed, was nowhere to be seen today. Hearing Isuzu's words, Suya became curious about how many times he had been here. Next, Isuzu took him to the Macaron Music Theater. Macaron was a music fairy. However, at the entrance, there was a sign saying that Macaron was on holiday today. Isuzu already knew that Macaron always closed whenever he felt unenthusiastic. Finally, they continued to the Moffle Candy House. Moffle was a candy fairy and also the flagship mascot of Amaburi. After entering, Suya found out that this was a shooting attraction. More precisely, he had to shoot toy mice in the kitchen with a pistol. Suya felt confident in his abilities, but it turned out that he had quite a hard time playing it. He could only kill 13 mice out of the 100 target. Suya was surprised that they used the word killed in a children's game like this. Afterward, they could take a photo with Moffle as a keepsake. Shortly after, they saw a mascot coming out of the door. Isuzu informed them that it was Moffle. And for some reason, instead of taking a photo together, Moffle was the one taking pictures of Isuzu and Suya. Suya also got annoyed because of Moffle's irritating attitude. He wanted to get out of this situation quickly. Suddenly, Moffle threw the camera right at Suya's head. Isuzu said that Moffle didn't like being called irritating. Then, Mawful also hit Seiya, and they got into an argument. Fortunately, Isuzu stopped them with the two rifles in her hands. Strangely, Seiya wasn't injured at all. After all those experiences, Isuzu asked about Seiya's experience with Mawful. She wanted Seiya to befriend Mawful. Seiya, of course, refused, and surprisingly, Mawful also said he didn't want to. Seiya didn't know that Mawful could speak. Outside, Seiya was still complaining about Mawful's behavior earlier. He was convinced that someone behind the costume was a villain. However, Isuzu denied it. It wasn't about a villain, she said there was no one inside. Mawful came from the magical kingdom. Seiya just thought that Isuzu didn't want to disappoint children by saying that. After that, they went to Elementario. There were 4 fairies there. First, there was Salama, the fire fairy, who was the laziest among them. Then there was Koboli, the earth fairy, who appeared quiet. Next was Sylphie, the wind fairy, whose personality seemed outgoing. Finally, there was Muse, the water fairy, who was very enthusiastic. Isuzu and Seiya only stopped by and went to the next place, the roller coaster thrill. However, when Seiya rode it, he didn't feel tense or thrilled at all. Next, they went to the souvenir shop, Brilliant Market. This place should have sold the latest Amaberry merchandise, but what was in front of them now was only old items. They then went to the Rabbit Park, which only had elderly people spending time there. There was also a free fall attraction that was too slow to be called an attraction. On the contrary, there was a coffee cup ride with a rotation speed that was too fast. After visiting all these places, Seiya protested because Isuzu had taken him to this rundown amusement park. However, Isuzu realized that Seiya was angry not because he was forced to date in this place, but solely because of this amusement park. Suddenly, Isuzu took out her notebook and read its contents. She had data about Kanyi Seiya, attending Amaji High School Class 2 to 4, 16 years old. Living with his older sister, handsome, smart, and good at sports. Talented and capable of doing anything well, but he was very narcissistic and liked to check himself in public places. That's why he still didn't have any friends or a girlfriend. During lunch, he always ate alone. Isuzu stated that she had thoroughly researched him. She even knew about Kodama Seiya, the stage name Seiya used when he was a child actor. But Kodama Seiya suddenly stopped 5 years ago. Based on the available data, he should be a high school student now. Isuzu wanted to know what Kodama Seiya thought about the current condition of the park. Seiya only understood that Isuzu had deliberately brought him here because she knew about his past. Nevertheless, Seiya remained indifferent and wanted to go home. Before that, Isuzu cooked some croquettes for him to eat first. Initially, Seiya had no expectations. However, he didn't expect the croquettes to be so delicious that he even ate 3 of them. Isuzu informed him that the croquettes were made here. Before leaving, Isuzu wanted Seiya to meet the maker of the croquettes. Next, they went to a large fortress within the amusement park. Isuzu said they would go to the roof of the fortress to meet the park's manager. On the way, Seiya also found out that Isuzu was an Amaberry employee. Once on the rooftop, Seiya saw a little girl with blonde hair like a fairy tale princess. The girl introduced herself as Latifa Floranza. Seiya wanted to know what Latifa wanted from him and was curious how a young girl seemed to be the manager of the park. Latifa already knew that the park was on the brink of ruin. That's why she asked Seiya to restore the park to its former glory. There was a prophecy that said Seiya could save the park. Most of the employees in the park were residents of the magical kingdom of Maple Land. They came from the world of the magic kingdom to the human world. However, if they couldn't bring in 250,000 guests in the next 3 months, the park would be closed. If that happened, the residents of Maple Land would lose their home. Latifa knew her words were hard to believe. Therefore, Latifa wanted to prove it by giving Seiya magical power. Seiya didn't expect Latifa to kiss him on the lips. For some reason, Seiya fainted after the kiss. Upon regaining consciousness, Seiya was already in his room. He thought everything that happened at Amaberry was just a dream. However, when he entered the bathroom, he saw Isuzu changing her clothes. Seiya immediately knocked on his sister Asu's room to ask what was going on. Asu explained that Isuzu had brought Seiya home after he fainted. Since it was already too late, Asu allowed him to stay here. At that moment, for some reason, Seiya could hear his sister saying something even though her mouth didn't move. Asu was very surprised when Seiya mentioned the words he had just heard. When he came out of the bathroom, Isuzu informed him that it was the magical power given by Latifa.